right, well, welcome back. We are going to jump ahead, as you can see, up to lesson 9. Lesson 9. So hello to all my friends at home. We're going to be doing some adding and subtracting expressions. Okay, so let's look at what we have to do first of all with example 1. Example 1 tells us to create a bar diagram to show, what are we going to show? We're going to show 3 plus 5. Well, if I had to make a bar diagram, I probably would do something like this. So if you would go ahead and make 3 boxes for me. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to add 5 on here, and I'm going to pick a different color just because I want to make sure we can all see. Okay, so I have here a diagram, and what does my diagram represent? It represents 3 plus 5. Well, now it says, how would this look if you were asked to show 5 plus 3? Well, if I do 5 plus 3, I basically do the same kind of thing. And what would I do? I'd add my 3. And so as you can see, what do I have now? I have my 5 green plus my 3 purple. All right, so let's look at the next one. The next one says, are these two expressions equivalent? Well, if you notice, most of us know that 5 plus 3 is 8 and 3 plus 5 is 8. So I have here, yes, 3 plus 5 and 5 plus 3 have a sum of 8. So if you could write that down in your book for me. And then you will notice that I kind of underlined these two expressions, 3 plus 5 and 5 plus 3. This is what we would actually call the commutative property of addition. And I just put add instead of writing the whole word addition out. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to example 2. Example 2 says, how can we show a number increased by 2? Well, let's see. We have the word increase, so we have to know what increased is. Increased means we're going to be adding. So we have a number. I don't know what the number is. So I'm basically going to say I have a number, and I'm going to increase it by 2. My expression here says a number increased by 2. So how would I make a model for that? Well, I don't know what A is, so I might just make this little box here and label it A. And then I probably would go ahead and make 2 boxes here. So I would have here A plus 2. All right, let's go ahead and turn over to the next page. Okay, let's look at example 3. Example 3 says we're going to write another expression. This time we're going to show the sum of m and k. Sum. We have to think about what operation would sum be. Well, the lesson we know is on adding and subtracting. Okay, so let's see. Sum to me would be adding. And what am I adding? I'm adding m and k. So I have 2 variables. My expression is m plus k. Well, we learned earlier that we also could do k plus m because we know that addition is commutative, which is what this next question says. What property? We have the commutative property of addition. So if you would write that down for me in your book as well. Okay, let's go ahead and move down to example 4. This time we have, how can we show 10 minus 6? Now there's a couple of ways to do that. I would probably go ahead and make 10 boxes. So go ahead and make 10 boxes for me. And then it says minus 6. So for me, I probably would just X out 6 of them. And so I have a diagram here that shows I had 10, and I subtracted 6. What expression would we write? Well, it would be 10 minus 6. Could we also use 6 minus 10? Unfortunately, we can't because subtraction is not unitive. So could we also use 10 minus 6? The answer is no. Six minus 10 would give us a negative answer. Okay, let's move on to example 5. Example 5. How can we write an expression to show 3 less than a number? 3 less than a number. So for my model, I'm going to go ahead and just make a box. I don't know what that number is going to be. So I'm going to make a box that looks like this. And I'm going to label this box. This box here is going to be N. So this is my letter. This stands for N. I'm going to take 3 less than this number. And so for me, I probably would make 3 boxes like this and X out 3. Now this is a tricky one to write as an expression. We're doing 3 less than a number. So we started with the original number and we took 3 away. So this is actually N minus 3, which actually also means 3 less than a number. Okay, we started with a number and we took 3 away. All right, let's move on to the next page. All right, so how could we write an expression to show the number C subtracted from the sum of A and B? All right, well, let's do this in steps. It says start by writing an expression for the sum of A and B. Well, we know that sum means to add. So the sum, we have here the sum of A and B. Now it says, now show C being subtracted from that. So we have the sum of A and B, and we would subtract C. Okay? The sum of A and B, subtract C. Moving on to example 7. Write an expression to show the number C minus the sum of A and B. C minus the sum of A and B. So we have C, let's read this again, C minus the sum of A and B. Well, here we had A and B. However, on this one, because we're taking C and we're subtracting what the sum of these two are, this one we will have to do parentheses, order of operations, because we want to find out this sum first before we subtract it from C. Up here, we didn't have to do parentheses because we had to do A plus B first anyway, and according to order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we were going to add first before we subtracted anyway. Okay, so this one we had to do our parentheses. Let's see what it says. Why are the parentheses necessary in this example and not the other? Okay, so you're going to notice on the screen here my written explanation. Without the parentheses, only A would be taken away from C, where the expression says that A plus B should be taken away from C. Okay, so write that down, and then I'm going to give you an example explaining what that means. Okay, so let me explain or show you what this exactly means. Let's look. This is the first one we had up here on the top. If I would do C, well, if I'd have here C minus A plus B without the parentheses, and then over here I did C minus A plus B with the parentheses. Okay, let's go ahead and try this. Let's go ahead and wherever you see the letter A, we're going to put in a 1. And wherever you see the letter B, let's put in a 2. And wherever we see the letter C, let's put in a 3. So let's go ahead and solve this. This would be 3 minus 1 plus 2. Okay, according to order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Adding and subtracting are hand in hand, so we do the subtracting first. So this would be 2 plus 2, which equals, 4. All right, put in C here, 3. And then we have here 1 plus 2. Okay, this time we have to do parentheses first. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we'd have 1 plus 2, which is 3. Copy everything else down. 3 minus 3 is 0. So the parentheses made a big difference in our answer. Well, up here, it said that we had to C minus what? The sum of A plus B. So we had to find the sum. That's why parentheses were important. Let's go down here to exercise 1 and see if we can write an expression for this one. Write an expression to show the, oh, here's the word sum again, so we know it's plus, the sum of 7 and 1 5/10. So we would do 7 and 1 5/10. Most of us know that addition can be commutative, so you could always write the problem like this as well. All right, turn over. Okay, you guys are getting pretty fast at this. Let's look at the next one. This one says write 2 expressions to show W increased by 4. So I'm going to underline W increased by 4. Okay, well, increased I know means plus W increased by 4. We know that addition is commutative, so we also know that 4 plus W would give me the exact same answer. Okay, we're going to go ahead and skip the models for now, and let's move down to number 3. See if we can write an expression for this one. Write an expression to show, oh, here we are, the sum again, but this time we're doing A, B, and C. Sum. How would I do all 3? Well, I probably would do A plus B plus C. And because addition is commutative, we could put these in all kinds of orders. We could change this. I think there would be 6 different orders if you want to come up with all of them. You could do A plus C plus B. We could do B plus A plus C. So you could actually change them to 6 different ways to do addition. Let's move down to number 4. Write an expression and a model. We're not going to do the model, showing 3 less than P. Okay, so we're doing less than, so we know that that's going to be a subtraction. Oh, this one's a little bit tricky. 3 has to be less than P. So we start with an amount, and that would be our P. We start with P, and we're going to go 3 less than P. A lot of times people want to do this, but this would be 3 subtract P, or P is less than 3. These two would not give me the same answer, and so that one would be incorrect. Okay, let's move down to number 5. Number 5 says to write an expression to show the difference of 3 and P. Difference. Well, difference I know would be considered subtraction, and I'm finding the difference of 3 and P. 3 and P. We write it just like that. Okay, flip over to the next page. Okay, so remember that this lesson is all about adding and subtracting expressions, so we won't have any multiplying or dividing in our expressions. This one says write an expression to show 4 less than the sum of G and 5. This less than, it's a little bit tricky because remember the less than, we're not using the less than symbol like this. Okay, we're writing it as a subtraction. 4 less than the sum. So we have this sum here, and we're going to do 4 less than it. So 4 less than is going to go on the end. And then we have the sum of G and 5. Sum would be adding. So we have here the sum of G and 5, subtract 4. Do I have to put parentheses on this one? Let's look. But I have to put parentheses. It's telling me to do the sum first. Well, according to order of operations, I'm already going to do adding first, so I don't have to put parentheses. But I know sometimes people want to make sure they know to do this. So you could put parentheses if you want, but you don't have to. Number 7. Let's see if you can solve this one. Write an expression to show 4 decreased by the sum of G and 5. So we have here a decrease, which is a minus, and we have here a sum, which is a plus. See if you can solve that. Okay, so let's reread it. It says 4 decrease. What's it decreased by? It's decreased by the sum of G and 5. do I need to put parentheses on this one? So I have 4, and I'm decreasing the sum. If I don't put parentheses, according to order of operations, I'm going to do this subtraction first. I'm going to take G and subtract it from 4. But that's not what we want to do. We want to take and subtract the sum. So on this one, we would have to put parentheses. Okay, last thing I want to look at is it says, should 6 and 7, which are the problems we did up here, have different expressions, why or why not? Well, they are different expressions, and we're going to write here in our notes why they are different expressions. Okay, so what I'd like for you to write is, if you remember up here on the top, we had 4 less than. So let's write here 4 less than. 4 less than would be written something like this. 4 less than whatever this is. We don't know what it is, but this is 4 less than. So it has to be minus 4. Whereas this one had 4 decreased by, and 4 decreased by would be written like this. 4 decreased by whatever the number is that we are going to be given. Okay, so we finished working on expressions today with adding and subtracting. Next week we are going to continue writing expressions, but this time we're going to add multiplying and dividing.